Before the world fell, Sheriff's Deputy Rick Grimes lived a standard, quiet life in King County, Georgia. But the story opens right in the nightmare before we even know how it started. Rick wanders an eerie, silent gas station searching for fuel. He spots a small slipper on the pavement, then a young girl in a bathrobe picking up a teddy bear. When Rick calls out to offer help, she turns around, revealing a mangled, decayed face and dead, vacant eyes. As she shuffles toward him, Rick is forced to pull his revolver and put a bullet through her forehead. It is a brutal opening hook that sets the tone for everything that follows. Rewinding to weeks earlier, Rick and his partner, Shane Walsh, are sitting in their squad car eating burgers and talking about relationships. Their calm banter is shattered by a high-speed police chase. A shootout ensues with armed fugitives, and while Rick manages to neutralize one suspect, a second gunman steps out of the overturned car and shoots Rick in the chest, right between the plates of his body armor. When Rick wakes up, the world has completely changed. Flowers on his bedside table are withered and dead. The clock has stopped. The hospital is eerie, abandoned, and covered in blood splatters. As Rick limps down the pitch-black hallway, he comes across a heavy set of chained double doors painted with a chilling warning. "Don't open, dead inside." Pale, rotting hands reach through the gap, grasping wildly. Outside, the reality of the collapse hits full force. Hundreds of body bags line the loading dock, military barricades stand abandoned, and the air is thick with silence. Limping home in panic, Rick finds his house empty and looted. His wife Lori and son Carl are gone, but their photo albums are missing, a tiny flicker of hope that they survived and evacuated. Collapsed on the front porch, Rick is struck over the head with a shovel by a young boy named Dwayne, whose father, Morgan Jones, swiftly finishes clearing the street. Morgan realizes Rick isn't an infected walker and takes him in. Over a tense dinner, Morgan delivers the crucial lore of the outbreak. Whatever this virus is, it turns the dead into flesh-eating monsters. A single bite causes a fatal fever, and the dead reanimate regardless. That night brings one of the most haunting sequences in television history. Morgan's reanimated wife walks up the porch steps, turning the doorknob and looking through the peephole. Morgan holds a sniper rifle, weeping in the dark, unable to pull the trigger on the woman he loved. The next morning, Rick takes Morgan to the King County Sheriff's Station, using the emergency generators to take hot showers and stock up on weapons from the armory. Before parting ways, Rick gives Morgan a walkie-talkie, promising to broadcast every morning at sunrise. On his way out of town, Rick stops in a park to find a half-eaten walker he encountered earlier. He looks down at her with pure compassion, whispers, "I'm sorry this happened to you," and shoots her in the head, an act of mercy rather than violence. Setting off toward Atlanta, where the CDC was rumored to have established a safe zone, Rick broadcasts radio signals into the ether. Unbeknownst to him, a survivor camp in the mountains outside Atlanta receives his broadcast, but their transmitter isn't strong enough to reply. Among those survivors are Rick's best friend Shane, his wife Lori, and his son Carl. Crucially, Shane and Lori have begun a romantic relationship, with Lori under the impression that Rick died in the hospital. When Rick's police cruiser runs out of gas along the empty interstate, he abandons it and acquires a horse from a nearby farmhouse. As he rides down the wide, empty highway toward the Atlanta skyline, the image becomes iconic. One man on horseback riding into a ghost town, surrounded by miles of stalled, abandoned, outbound traffic. Entering downtown Atlanta, Rick finds not a military haven, but a dead metropolis. Silence reigns until a military helicopter passes overhead. Chasing its reflection in the glass skyscrapers, Rick rides straight into the heart of the city and directly into a massive herd of hundreds of walkers. The horde swarms them immediately, tearing the horse apart in a gruesome feeding frenzy. Rick loses his bag of guns, drops to the pavement, and crawls under an abandoned military tank as Walker hands reach for his boots. Cornered and overwhelmed, Rick pulls his sidearm, prepares to end his own life, and closes his eyes. But at the last second, he notices an open hatch underneath the belly of the tank. Rick scrambles inside, sealing the hatch just as walkers climb all over the hull. Inside, a dead soldier reanimates, forcing Rick to fire a deafening shot in the enclosed space. Trapped, deafened, and surrounded by thousands of undead pounding on the armor, Rick appears utterly doomed. Then, the tank radio crackles to life with a static-filled voice asking, "Hey, you, in the tank, cozy in there?"